Welcome, brothers and sisters. I hope that you're having a great day today. My name is Jermaine Felton, and today's reading comes out of Genesis, the 39th chapter, verses 1 to 23. With that being said, let's start today's reading. When Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelites traders, he was purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer. Potiphar was a captain of the guard for Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. The Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything he did, as he served in the home of the Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This pleased Potiphar, so he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. From the day Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, and the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. All his household's affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't worry about a thing except what kind of food to eat. Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man, and Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded. But Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, "my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." She kept putting pressure on Joseph day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. One day, however, no one else was around. When he went in to do his work, she came and grabbed him by his cloak, demanding, "Come on, sleep with me." Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak in her hand. And as he ran from the house, when she saw that she was holding his cloak and he had fled, she called out to her servants. Soon all men came running. "Look," she said, "my husband has brought this Hebrew slave here to make fools of us. He came into my room to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he ran outside and got away, but he left his cloak behind with me." So we see here in verse 10 and 15, Joseph avoided Potiphar's wife as much as possible. He refused her advances and finally ran from her. Sometimes merely trying to avoid temptation is not enough. We must turn and run from them, especially when the temptation seems very strong, as it often the case is sexual temptation. So let's go on to the next. She kept the cloak with her until her husband came home. Then she told him her story. "The Hebrew slave you brought into our house tried to come in and fool around with me," she said, "but when I screamed, he ran outside, leaving his cloak with me." Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about Joseph, how Joseph had treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love, and the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. So we see in verse 21 and 23, as a prisoner and slave, Joseph could have seen his situation as hopeless. Instead, he did his best with each small task given to him. His diligence and positive attitude were soon noticed by the warden, who promoted him to prison administrator. I ask you this question today. Are you facing seemingly hopeless predicament at work, at home, at school? And we need to follow Joseph's example by taking each small task and doing your best. Remember how God turned Joseph's situation around. He will see your efforts and can reverse even overwhelming odds. So, more so, we need to follow Joseph's standards of example. There were so many things he was lied about. Potiphar's wife lied on him. And God still gave him favor even when he went in jail. And he let Joseph have favor with the warden so that he'd be able to control him. God was already leading Joseph into where he was going to be. He was just checking Joseph's posture and his attitude about everything. Sometimes we can be going through the worst times of our life, and God could just be checking our posture. And you still having a positive attitude, even though these things aren't working in your favor right now. Are you still trusting me? Are you still trusting me when I'm down in the pits? Are you trusting me? If I can trust you when you're down in the pits, I can trust you with something really high. So whenever we deal with something, even a small task of something, we gotta do it with a positive energy. It might feel something that you feel like it's below me, but you know what? If God gave this for me, I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. And I pray that you have a great day. I pray that you read this and get a better understanding. Have a blessed day, brothers and sisters.